NBC's cynical mind control games. Believe it or not, yes, that's the headline. And there we are. That's out of the week. U.S. Business section. The network admits it uses behavior placement on popular shows to encourage healthy, eco-friendly habits and sell ads. First there was product placement, now there's behavior placement. The planting of subtle messages in popular TV shows to encourage certain behavior, such as healthy eating or eco-conscious habits, and thereby convince sponsors that their brands will be associated with feel-good, socially aware shows. NBC has owned up to the practice, reports the Wall Street Journal, as part of its green initiative. If Tina Fey is tossing a plastic bottle into a recycling bin, the theory goes that the audience members will be more apt to do the same. Is this innocuous or Orwellian? This isn't just creepy, it's dumb. The pressure to be eco-conscious has reached a new high, says Christopher Rosen in Movie Line. NBC implies that people are too dumb to make healthy decisions on their own. How patently stupid. Do viewers really need NBC telling them how to run their life? Well, what's the big deal? Despite the hubbub, the principles of NBC the principles that NBC are promoting are fairly innocuous, says Amy Chozick in the Wall Street Journal. Climate change may be controversial, but these shows don't make a political statement. They simply show characters making green conscious decisions. Most people can agree. This is a good thing. Well, first of all, if it shows characters making green conscious decisions, then that is making a political statement on a subconscious level. Whether you like it or not, whether you're going to try to put your media nonsense spin on it or not, that's exactly what's going on. Don't try to tell us otherwise. At least not me. I'm too smart for that. Unfortunately, healthy habits aren't the bottom line. Clearly for NBC, behavior placement is about dollar signs and cynicism, says John Burchard in Mediaite. The execs' attempt to manipulate their viewers to draw eco-conscious, health-conscious advertisers is soul-crushing proof that everything is a business these days. And I would agree with that. Everything is a business these days. Especially to these people, they're in the business of running the world, and when you're in the business of running the world, you must control the minds of the population that you're trying to control. It's part of the game. Coming off the NBC mind control game story, this is a perfect follow-up for that. April 13th, 1953, CIA OK's MK Ultra mind control tests, and this is out of Wired magazine, This Day in Technology, April 13th, 1953. And here you can check this out. There you go. 1953, Central Intelligence Agency Director Alan Dulles authorizes the MK Ultra project. The agency launches one of its most dubious covert programs ever, turning unsuspecting humans into guinea pigs for its research into mind-altering drugs. The government experimenting with the human population as guinea pigs unwittingly? No, that's conspiracy theory nonsense. Our government wouldn't do that to us, would they? Yes, they would, and they did in 1953, and if you think that it's not going on today, you're absolutely crazy. Getting back into the article, more than a decade before psychologist Timothy Leary advocated the benefits of LSD and urged everyone to turn on, tune in, and drop out, the CIA's technical services staff launched a highly classified project to study the mind control effects of this and other psychedelic drugs, using unwitting U.S. and Canadian citizens as lab mice. Dulles wanted to close the brainwashing gap that arose after the United States learned that American prisoners of war in Korea were subjected to mind control techniques by their captors. Loath to be outdone by foreign enemies, the CIA sought through its research to devise a truth serum to enhance the interrogations of POWs and capture spies. The agency also wanted to develop techniques and drugs, such as amnesia pills, to create CIA super agents who would be immune to the mind control efforts of their adversaries. MK Ultra even hoped to create a Manchurian candidate. or programmable assassin and devise a way to control the minds of pesky despots like Fidel Castro, giving credence forevermore to claims by the tinfoil hat contingent that the government is out to control our minds. Now, this is weird and curious. The magazine itself, Wired Magazine, well-known publication, mainstream, is talking about MK Ultra mind control projects, and yet it's also painting the people who point to these projects as proof of government corruption and abuses of power as tinfoil hat wearers. It doesn't make any sense. Again, everything is a psyop. Think about that. Think about how they're trying to sell this to you. MK Ultra even hoped to create a Manchurian candidate or programmable assassin and devise a way to control the minds of pesky despots. It just spells it out right there, all for you. It's right in your face. That's the truth. But then they spin it, and the sentence isn't even over yet. In the same sentence, it's spun to giving credence forevermore to claims by the tinfoil hat contingent that the government is out to control our minds. You're speaking out of both sides. That's doublespeak. That's classic Orwellian doublespeak. You want an example of doublespeak? There you go. That's a very good in-your-face example. Back to the article. In addition to drugs, the program included more than 100 sub-projects that involved radiological implants, hypnosis, and subliminal persuasion, electroshock therapy, and isolation techniques as well. The MK in the project name referred to the Technical Services Division that oversaw the project, and Ultra was a security classification applied to top-secret intelligence. More than 30 universities and institutions participated in the CIA-funded research, though not all were aware that the spy agency was their benefactor, because funding was sometimes laundered through shell organizations. Under the guise of research, LSD, whose psychedelic properties were discovered by a Swiss chemist in 1943, was secretly administered to CIA employees, U.S. soldiers, as well as psychiatric patients, as well as the general public. So they're giving it to everyone. How broad of a list is that? I'm going to read this one more time. They secretly administered LSD to CIA employees, U.S. soldiers, and psychiatric patients, as well as the general public. Everyone. They gave it to everyone without them knowing about it. Not everyone. I mean, it's not everyone. They gave it to everyone selectively, basically. They gave it to people in all groups, I should say. Not everyone. They gave it to pieces and people of all groups, essentially, is what they're saying here. Returning to the article, one federal drug agent who worked as a consultant for the CIA for a project dubbed Operation Midnight, project dubbed Operation Midnight Climax, hired prostitutes to slip the drug to unsuspecting clients, then watched them through a two-way mirror as the clients tripped out. He also reportedly slipped the drug to patrons at bars and restaurants. The CIA ultimately concluded that the drug was too unpredictable for reliable research, but that was too late for Frank Olson. Olson was a 43-year-old civilian germ warfare researcher for the U.S. Army who also was a CIA employee and an unwitting recipient of CIA acid. During a 1953 meeting with a mountain retreat, at a mountain retreat with MK Ultra head Dr. Sidney Gottlieb and other CIA employees, Olson and 4 other scientists drank a glass of Cointreau that had been secretly spiked with LSD. They were told about the drug about 20 minutes after ingesting it. Olson apparently had a severe reaction and left the retreat in an agitated state and later threatened to resign. The CIA claimed he suffered a sudden bout of extreme paranoia and depression and sent him to a psychiatrist in New York for a consultation. He died in a fall in quotations, from the 10th floor of his New York hotel room. And I'm not making those quotes, by the way. In the article, it says, in quotes, he died in a fall from the 10th floor of his New York hotel room. A CIA employee who had accompanied him to New York reported that he awoke at 1:30 a.m. to see Olson hurl himself through the closed window. And that's a CIA employee who had accompanied him to New York. That's convenient. Of course, the one witness to his apparent suicide is the CIA employee who accompanies him to New York. That isn't suspicious. Olson left a 38-year-old widow and 3 children under the age of 10. In the absence of other evidence, Olson's family reluctantly accepted the CIA's puzzling explanation that the scientists had been suddenly seized by a fatal depression. When news of the CIA's secret LSD program finally leaked out 20 years later, the family learned through a congressional inquiry that Olson had been slipped some of the hallucinogen days before his death. The CIA continued to insist that Olson had committed suicide, but at President Gerald Ford's urging, the family was paid $750,000. That's not a payoff. It wasn't until the 1990s, when Olson's son had his father's body exhumed and examined, that he discovered that his father might have actually died from a blunt force trauma to the head, which may have been received prior to his fall from the window. Olson wasn't the only casualty of the CIA's drug tests. A tennis pro who had gone to New York's Psychiatric Institute for Depression following a divorce fell into a coma and died. He had been administered a derivative of mescaline. There were other cases of suspect deaths and lives left in ruin.